So for the past few weeks, I've been kind of working. I kind of started like working on something that essentially I made like my current priority. And like, where do I start? So like I've been like really doing like too many like in terms of feature work. I've been kind of focusing on more some like fun project, and it's sort of like related to that. But I'll spend a lot of time, putting together like documents, writing down ideas, because the thing I've been kind of focusing on, and then I'll spend a bit more time focusing on as the team, and now starting to implement some of the changes, is changes to the process to improve essentially the sort of positivity and mental health as part of the development. Because for a while, like, we kind of left things as it is, and it's been kind of getting a bit more kind of difficult, like, just kind of keeping with the updates, because we're kind of like, for a long time, been just kind of in this like daily grind of like, bug fixes, features, adding things, like responding to feedback, like, and it's just constant, like, it's a constant grind, and it kind of becomes difficult, and so that loop just kind of becomes more like, draining, and it kind of makes it more difficult to work on things, and it kind of got, to the point where we're like, we need to prioritize certain things now to just improve the mental health, improve, the positivity, make things, kind of exciting, again. So what we'll be doing is we're going to be making a number of changes. We're going to publish sort of a discussion and a bunch of documents and things where there's like several initiatives, to just change the process and improve the process. And that overall should be, making changes that like change the whole development loop into something that is like, less draining and more positive, and gives us more energy and makes us more excited to work on features. And the way we want to approach this is like, open it as a discussion as well with like you, with the community, because we want, also your ideas. What would make things, feel better? What makes things kind of more fun and more exciting? But we have a lot of ideas of our own. This is going to be published soon, so we'll be able to like read everything. But we wanted to sort of bring it up, through the live stream, so you can kind of ask us questions, and we can kind of sort of clarify it, because people like will kind of skip through things, and sort of don't read something. So we figure, thank you video Discord. So many more subscriptions. Oh my god, there's so many. Thank you.
Right.
But yeah, there's a number of changes, and I kind of want to go over them, so we have like, this is probably gonna end up like, being cut into like some smaller videos as well, so you can like, if people don't like to read, like, there's something to watch. So there's a number of ideas like, I'm gonna kind of have like how to improve, the overall sort of like positive development, how to make things like feel better, how to like improve our processes and development loop. So one of the things is we're gonna be adding 2 new issue templates. There's gonna be, because one of the things I've been kind of doing is, sort of looking at things. How do we actually develop this? How do we like work on this? How do we publish updates? How do we process feedback? And sort of, and I got like this advice from Edgar, actually, like, has kind of been dealing with some like issues like as well in the past. He has a lot of experience, and he suggested to me, look at this as a project, like this is like a bug to fix in a way, or it's like a feature to add, like, but just kind of take the same approach with this as I would take like, solving technical problems. And one of the things is like, for example, with GitHub, there's 2 things that oftentimes, I feel like are 2 biggest sources of kind of like, frustration. Is one, oftentimes we ask people, to focus more on like the underlying issue, certain like specific solutions, because it becomes kind of difficult for us to decipher like, what is actually the problem. Because we see like, the solution they want, but maybe the solution doesn't quite work, or we're kind of confused why they need it. So we're gonna add a issue template that's right now we're calling it a friction point observation. And what it's gonna be is essentially just documenting, be like the user, which can be yourself, it could be somebody else, it could be a new user who you noticed, struggling with something. You notice them, they want to do something, like for example, they want to bring their avatar in, or they want to join people. They have certain goal. And then, could be like things, what did they try to do, and what was the friction point? What did they, like, where did they get stuck? And that's, the information we need. Like, we don't need to focus right away on what the solution is, we just need to understand where people get stuck. So now we'll have, like, this issue template where if you notice this in your users, if you notice it in yourself, if you get stuck on something, you wanted to do something, create like this type of issue, and we can look at like, these issues and be like, we could think of like, those features that will solve these problems. Because a big part of our development work is actually, being kind of creative, figuring out, new features, figuring out solutions to problems. But with existing GitHub issues, we kind of get like almost like, like kind of robbed of that process, where it's like, very focused on like, this is the solution like we want, like, and like we just kind of implement like things like, people want, and like it kind of drains a lot of the fun and a lot of the kind of creativity from the development process. So by having issue that's specifically for this purpose, I feel this might kind of, help, direct people, like, to providing that kind of feedback. So that's the one type of issue. The other type of issue is like, it's stemming from another observation I kind of made. It's like where GitHub is pretty much like, all about things that are wrong. It's like, there's this bug, there's, there's like a missing feature, there's like something that's hard to do. It's all focusing on the negative stuff. And to sort of balance things, the other type of issue is going to be a positive observation. So if there's something, some change we made, because essentially right now, like, GitHub is like letting us know all the things that are wrong. But to balance it, it also helps us, to know what things we actually did right, what things helped you, what things improved your workflow, what features like excited you. So we're gonna have like another issue for it. And if you have like any feedback, if something helped you, if something helped you and improved like your workflow, this would be a good issue type, and it would be good to let us know, because one, it helps to balance the mood, but also we will want to do more of that. If we see like, this is working, this is making people happy, this is making people excited, this is improving things, we want to do more of that. Like whenever like I see, for example, people, making cool things with PhotonDust, I'm like, I want to add more PhotonDust modules. I want to like, let people do even more things. And that's like a much better place to be, coming at things from features and improving things, than like the more kind of negative aspect. So I feel this is kind of help, like, in kind of multiple ways. And also like let us know, because we want to know, like, these things are wrong, and none of that's going away. It's still very important for us to know things that need to be fixed, that need to be improved. But it's also important to know the things that went right, because that helps us, both like mentally, like, like it's not all bad, like there's things that we did change that like are good, and we want to do more of that. And it's also like, giving a better direction, because we do want to keep doing things that keep making people happy, and that keep making, it's like, it essentially just gives like, it's a much better kind of like, motivator. So those are going to be two new issue types I'm going to be adding to GitHub. They're going to appear soonish, and there's also going to be written description, so you can kind of, see more like they're meant to be for. One more thing I'm going to mention for the friction point observation, the important thing for those issues is to keep it objective, like, keep emotion out of the issue, because what it does, it just kind of adds, noise. And we want to focus on fixing the problems and fixing the friction points. So we're going to be asking people, keep it neutral, keep focusing, this is what I wanted to do, or this is what somebody wanted to do, this is where they got stuck. That's like, what we need to do to actually fix the issue. And that's going to be kind of mentioned in those things. So that's one of the changes we're planning. Another thing that we want to introduce, and actually kind of started doing it a bit, is something that I'm currently calling like a creative experimentation day, because a lot of the work we're doing is, stuff that needs to be done. It's like GitHub issues, bug fixes, like things broken, adding features, like this needs to be done, this needs to be done, this needs to be done. And it's just like, all of that. And it kind of, one thing I noticed, it pushed out like, all the fun stuff. Stuff that's like really like, they're just like cool things to do that necessarily don't have like, like be like, this is the priority thing. And I feel that kind of like, shifted the balance where it's kind of become unhealthy. And to kind of, because like development, like especially with a platform like this, it's meant to be fun, like this is like, it started as a passion project. And if we don't have, we only have like things that really need to be done, it suffocates a lot of that passion. So we need to bring, a bunch of that back and have like some time that we dedicate to just, having fun with it, like making cool features, where essentially the only prioritization is gonna be like, is it fun? Do we want to work on it? We're not gonna care like, how many upvotes it has. We're not gonna care, how many people are asking for it. Is it fun? Do we want to make it? Because oftentimes those things also like, lead to things that people then end up liking a lot. Because a lot of things that kind of stem from passion, it's kind of, it's kind of like always reminds me of like, that quote from Henry Ford is like, if he asked people like, what they wanted, he would have built a faster horse. Because there's like certain ideas, we have that people will not, like people won't be asking for them because people don't even think to ask them, because, there are ideas that like, what sort of drives the project. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna have one day of the week. It can be different for each developer, but one day of the week, we're just gonna spend on fun things. And we're gonna like, stick to it. Sometimes there's gonna be, complications. Sometimes maybe we need to deal with, emergency or some deadline that's gonna move it, if that it requires us to sacrifice that fun thing, we're gonna take like, to the next week. So the idea is essentially, like if something is a fun, creative, experimental feature, there's like one day dedicated to it. We still have, 4 days of the week working on things that need to be done, but there's like, that one. When something is in that stage, we're also gonna ask people, please keep into that spirit of experimentation. If you have like, for example, concerns, or things you want, make your feedback encouraging, because like, just kind of, if we get excited about something, and like people are just like, no, I shouldn't be doing it, like it kind of kills a lot of the excitement, and that can be like, very damaging. So we're gonna ask people, and we're gonna like also try to make sure that those things are marked, this is our experimentation fun thing. There's the other side of this is like, if something is in that phase when we're just kind of experimenting, it doesn't necessarily, there's no expectation that it actually gets merged. Like it might not even make it, to the to the builds. It's just like, wanna play around. Maybe the idea works out, maybe it doesn't. If the idea works out, then it moves into normal feature, and at that point, like we're gonna be like, okay, there's these concerns, we need to make sure, compatibility, like it doesn't break things and so on. That's kind of where it becomes a little bit more involved, but not before it exits, the creative experimentation stage. So that's gonna be another kind of big change. And actually, I got this idea for, like, I know like some companies actually do it, like, where they would like dedicate like, actually comes from, the biggest example is from Unity, where I don't know if they still do it, but like they would dedicate every Friday where developers just work on whatever. Like they just experiment with ideas, and like there's a lot of cool projects for Unity that actually stemmed from these Friday, like, experimentations where it's just free to explore and, experiment and so on. So I wanted to kind of, introduce something similar. There's, let's see. So that is another thing that we want to do. Another thing we want to do is like encourage people in the community to essentially share more positive experiences, you know, on the Resonite, because we want to see, like, you know, when we make features, when we improve things, or just people generally using the platform, we want to see people are having fun, people are like enjoying the platform. And as you know, even we know there's gonna be, you know, friction points, there's gonna be problems, not everybody's gonna like it, but we need to know there's both. It's not, you know, just the it's like we need balance for it. So we want people to encourage people to share, you know, more on social media, share more, like, you know, like just publicly showing things they're building and showing the fun people are having on the platform. And there's a few ways we want to do this, like, you know, and one of them actually we kind of started, you know, on the last Resonance, is like we just go through a bunch of posts on Blue Sky, people showing stuff on their, you know, stuff they've done on Resonite, we showcase it. You know, we want to encourage more people to do it, because the thing you made, it might end up on one of the streams, and then we bring the, like, really coolest ones, we bring them, you know, to the recap streams as well. That way, you know, there's more of a kind of incentive, like, to doing this kind of sharing. There's more things, like, for example, one of the small things I want to implement that's going to help is like having like Blue Sky embed, so like you can just copy the link and it pastes it, shows all the video, the text of the post, and so on. This going to make it very easy, like, you know, to do this regularly instead of just, you know, screenshotting my dash. We also want to eventually, like, and I'm not saying we're going to prioritize this one right now. At some point though, we want to add like additional features where, for example, you know, you for example, you know, say like a take screenshot, want to make it so you could do a video this way. So you could just like trigger a quick video recording, here pops out a video, and then another feature is like you could, like, you know, tie Resonite into your social, like, media account, for example, to Blue Sky, and then directly on the video you can just post it. You know, maybe write a little thing and post it and it handles it for you. Lower the friction of doing that, because I feel by reducing the friction, you know, if you reduce the friction of doing that, people will do it more. And if people do it more, we'll both, like, you know, have material to share, we'll have like more, we'll see more cool things that people are doing on the platform. That's gonna help motivate us, you know, like, do more. And also it helps us, you know, grow the community, because one of the big problems we have is there is a lot of people on the platform who are having fun, who are doing a lot of cool things, but a lot of people outside of Resonite don't really know about it. And by showcasing, you know, some of the positive things, some of the fun people are having, we, you know, we essentially kind of, you know, like, encourage more people to check, like, Resonite out and grow the community, which in turn, you know, just helps everything. So that is another thing that we want to do, is, you know, essentially encouraging everyone to share. And we also would want to know, once the discussion opens, what would help you, like, what would, like, make you want to share things, you know, more. The next thing we want to do, this is also going to help, this is more kind of like on team, but also like part of the community. We want to encourage people to, like, you know, ask things in the right channels. So essentially put together a list of, like, you know, if somebody has this kind of issue, go to hit up. If somebody has this kind of issue, you know, find a mentor. If somebody has this kind of issue, make a moderation ticket or make a support ticket, you know, or bring it to office hours. If you have like a list, like, you know, sort of a guide, like direct people to these places, we're gonna have it both for our team, so, like, you know, our team knows, like, to direct people, and also for the community. So if you see somebody, you know, asking in the wrong place, you can suggest, like, this might be a good thing to bring to the office hours. That way, you know, there's better kind of communication, and people know there's, like, specific points where we are gonna be answering your questions, and we can learn more about the platform. And instead of, like, you know, relying on, like, a lot of hearsay, you know, a lot of, like, rumors that can be spreading around, people can get the questions answered, like, you know, from the actual official sources. So documenting that and having that, like, you know, as a thing so anybody can link and point to, like, I think that's gonna help that as well. Another thing that's we might actually end up, like, prioritizing soonish, like, as a feature, is doing parts of the molecule system. And, like, you know, J4 started been, like, working on the CI/CD, which is actually gonna flow into that, because right now publishing builds there's a fair amount of manual steps involved, which takes time away from actually developing. It also is more error prone. Like sometimes I make mistakes, like when pushing the buttons, and then have to deal with it, and it's stressful. It also makes it difficult to run multiple pre-releases, and as we have more engineers on the team, we only have one pre-release channel right now, and it's kind of harder to do. We have it's difficult. It's difficult to just run things, and then when I'm reviewing, team members contributions, we need to be a lot more careful before pushing the updates out, and even then some stuff still slips. So with the molecule and the CI/CD, every time a team member makes a PR, that can essentially end up being its own pre-release branch for a specific feature. The team member can bring it to the community and can you do a bunch of testing on this? So before it even gets merged, we can get a bunch of testing, make sure it's as stable as it can be before it gets merged, and then overall I feel it's gonna help the process. So it's gonna lead to less bugs. It's gonna lead to less disruptions in the main branch, and it's gonna reduce a lot of the overhead that's on me specifically too with the PRs, because I can be this got pre-released, this got tested with a bunch of people in the community. I don't have to read through the code and think of what possible bugs might happen with this. So that's gonna be another thing that's just gonna help improve our overall process with Resonite. And then I was gonna mention I'm gonna be talking about this a fair bit. One of the things that I'd be also gonna help long term is doing gradual open sourcing of Resonite. And I'm not making an announcement right now of exactly when we're gonna do it, under what license, stuff like that. It's still kind of we need more discussions internally. But generally what we want to do is open pieces of Resonite, piece by piece, and allow community to make essentially to make contributions, back fixes, and reducing some of the pressure on us. The way we want to approach it is we're gonna do it first for things where it's we don't have to worry too much about breaking compatibility, for example. So for example, we want to do import-export modules. So for example, if there's issues with importing certain models, people can make contributions to those, make back fixes there, or we can even add your own importers. So we will allow for modules for importers to be essentially loaded more like plugins, where they don't break the compatibility between builds, and it just introduce new support for new formats that you can now bring into Resonite. And even if something is something we wouldn't include officially, it's gonna be something you install as a third party, or maybe you need to modify the importer for the studio specific needs for a project you're working on. You can make a fork build of our own and make whatever customizations you need. So stuff like that would help, and it doesn't affect compatibility, because it's just gonna the sort of barrier between bringing content in and out. Another one that I feel is gonna benefit from that hugely is device drivers. So if there's an issue with some hardware, face tracking, trackers, haptics, we allow communities make contributions and fixes. If you want support for new hardware, or if you want the hardware to be supported differently, you'll be able to do that as well. So I think that also will help. That will help reduce some of the pressure on us, and kind of help lean more into the community and give you in the community kind of more control over parts of this platform, while still keeping probably gonna keep the core closed for longer. I don't know exactly how it's gonna look for that one yet, because the one thing we do want to avoid is fragmentation, where if we open source the whole thing right now, it would fragment into a bunch of different versions that are not compatible with each other. And I feel with the size of the community we have right now, thank you, set the gear for great. With the size of the community right now, that would it might be too risky to do right now. So I feel that's a thing for once we kind of grow more, and once we have kind of more developed, once we have kind of, you know, more developed sort of like, you know, processes for some of the things and some of the technical things too. So yeah, that's kind of covers, I'm just kind of checking the document. And all of this, you know, everything they kind of announced like that we plan to do, some of this we'll be doing right away, like so in the upcoming weeks. Some of it, like, you know, are features for a bit later. But overall, essentially the main focus right now is, you know, improving the mental health, improving the like positivity, because that's gonna make it much easier to work on future things. And we've kind of reached a point where it needs to be a priority. It needs to be something like that's not just, you know, in the background on the side, because it kept getting, you know, just pushed off for so long. And it needs to be like, you know, focused on right now, so we can kind of keep going and we can keep working on this platform for like, you know, years down the line. So all of this is gonna be another actually one more thing I kind of missed is we're gonna publish also like more documents. Like one of the things I wrote is like a technical manifesto and sort of design principles. So by by writing those down, I feel, and sharing them with everyone, I feel it's gonna make it easier for people to sort of understand the philosophy of how this platform is developed and how, like, you know, what sort of principles we follow and what principles we stick to. So that's gonna be another thing, you know, we're gonna share as part of this. So yeah, I'm gonna publish the document soonish. Might not be next week, because next week I'll be like at MFF and I'll be traveling. It's probably gonna be like the week after that. And it's gonna, like, you know, have everything kind of written down. It's gonna be like discussions, so you can, like, you know, help contribute as well. Like if you have ideas, or if you have, like, you know, things. But overall, this is, you know, what I've been kind of, like, you know, focusing on myself especially, and what I'm not gonna be like focusing on, you know, like putting some of these things in place. Because if we have, like, you know, better processes, if we have better, you know, development loop, that's gonna help everything that kind of comes, you know, everything that comes afterwards. So I think that kind of covers everything. We're gonna like be also like feel there's probably a bunch of questions as well, so we're gonna like go through those. But thank you, like, you know, for listening to this. I hope this kind of, I know it's kind of like, you know, not the feature focus right now. Well, there's gotta be some features that are related to it, like more kind of smaller for some of them. But this is gonna help us, you know, like make the whole process more like healthier. So with that, let's go to the questions. There's a lot of subs again. Thank you.
There's a lot of money.
There's a lot of money, thank you.